Here, watch Marjorie Taylor Greene.
If you had to advise, based on your traveling around, what are the 3 issues that the average American resonates with so that at least messaging-wise, Republicans are able to nail it? What are the top 3 that create the greatest emotional reaction, in your opinion?
Well, I think that's traditional political thinking, the question that you asked. That's the way to go towards the independent voter to help swing or grow more seats in the majority. And I'll tell you what I think the top 3 are to go after those voters, but then I'm going to push back and tell you why that's wrong.
Mike, do you think Marjorie Taylor Greene is wrong? Modern politics seems as though it's about turning out your base. The Republican base is way smaller than the Democratic base. The only way that they can get people on their side is if they find some weird wedge issue and make it about a culture war and aesthetics and not about policy. If the Republicans turn more toward their base, being extreme on abortion, extreme on guns, extreme on religion, extreme on public schools, extreme on the environment, they will get 30% of the vote and get absolutely demolished.
Student loan payments refunded POG.
The only reason the Democrats lose is because centrist Democrats blur the line between the two parties because they function as a uniparty. The Republican Party and the centrist Democrats are the same fucking thing, and they all serve corporate America. So the function of centrist Democrats is to punch left and disrupt their own party to blur the lines. The problem is the Republican Party is going so far right, the corporate Democrat position is unviable and untenable because you can't blur the lines when they're fucking batshit crazy Marjorie Taylor Greene people. So I like that. Let's make it a base turnout. Let's bring the sharpest contrast between the two parties. Because if we do that, we're going to end up with Medicare for all, free college, universal pre-K, trans rights protected, public housing, free college, like all that shit is going to happen. If we actually make it about policy, we're going to win mega. We're going to have unions everywhere. 15, I mean, like, God knows how much policy wins we can get if we actually make it about that. I want the Republicans to go radical right. Go as far radical right as you want. Go for it, buddy. Because the sharper you make that contrast, the more left-wingers are going to get into power. If Biden did some popular shit like codify Roe and legalize weeds, the Dem would get 60% of the vote next time. I mean, I feel like doing popular things is smart. All right, chat. I wanted to show you this because it's too fucking funny.
Joining us now, Senator Lindsey Graham from the great state of South Carolina. Senator, let's start. I want to start with a clip from Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg on Hunter Biden and then talk to you on the other side.
What the hell is this guy's name again? He was some failure congressman. I guess he got his job at Fox News. He quit. Trey Gowdy. God, everybody wants to be a media hack now. That's everybody's dream, is to be a media hack. Incredible.
The FBI, I think, basically came to us, some folks on our team, and was like, hey, just so you know, like, you should be on high alert. There was we thought that there was a lot of Russian propaganda in the 2016 election. We have it on notice that basically there's about to be some kind of dump of that's similar to that. So just be vigilant. I mean, it sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because it turned out after the fact, the fact checkers looked into it. No one was able to say it was false.
All right. So the FBI says it routinely warns people about potential misinformation. I wonder why they didn't warn themselves or the FISA court in 2016.
Well, you had a really good high-minded discussion with your last guest. I'm just going to get really to the bottom of all this. Most Republicans, including me, believes when it comes to Trump, there is no law. It's all about getting him. There's a double standard when it comes to Trump. What happened with Hunter Biden is that the FBI weighed in to make sure a story didn't break for the 2020 election. We now have whistleblowers at the FBI telling Senator Grassley that they were told to slow down and back off Hunter Biden. And I'll say this. If there's a prosecution of Donald Trump for mishandling classified information after the Clinton debacle, which you presided over and did a hell of a good job, there'll be riots in...
Oh my God, I forgot about how Trey Gowdy, he was the Benghazi guy. He was the, she has emails on her server, but we can't prove anything guy. They had Hillary Clinton testify in front of Congress for 12 straight hours guy. That's fine.
In the streets. Mishandling classified information After the Clinton debacle, which you presided over and did a hell of a good job, there'll be riots in the streets.
Yeah, you know, I'm a simple-minded guy, Senator. I think people ought to be treated the same without regard to political ideology. Yeah. And I remember that Jim Comey press conference really, really, really well. All right, I want to ask you about something you care about and have from the entire time I've known you, which is our foreign policy. We are at the one-year mark in Afghanistan after the withdrawal. I want to play a clip from you from General McKenzie and then get you to react to what he said.
So in your opinion,
I gotta pause it because basically Lindsey Graham just called for a civil war, what amounts to. If Donald Trump is held accountable for breaking the law, he's calling for civil strife. I've never heard. Has anyone ever seen someone on the left that's a politician calling for riots? And that doesn't even get a blip on mainstream media.
Is the withdrawal a mistake?
I advised against withdrawing. My recommendation and my opinion, and it remains so today, was we had the opportunity to remain in the country with a small force. I realize the Taliban could very well have chosen to attack us, but I do not believe, based on the intelligence I was reading at the time, that we would have been forced to add more forces.
So in other words, what General Frank McKenzie says, so the Taliban did not attack the United States for a year in Afghanistan because Trump signed a treaty with them that we were going to pull out. So General Frank McKenzie's personal belief is that when the Afghan central government collapsed and the U.S. military was in Bagram Air Base, surrounded by the Taliban, they would not have attacked. And they would have just allowed there to be an enclave of American forces within their country. Wow, and that would have been a violation of the treaty we signed. That is the dumbest ass motherfucking thing I've ever heard. That's a way to have 10,000 American troops killed. That's to have our actual airbase overrun. We would have to have had we would have had to level Kabul to protect American troops. What the fuck is he talking about?
In order to maintain a 2,500 force level in Afghanistan.
Where are we 1 year later after the withdrawal, Senator?
Well, we're more exposed to another attack than we've ever been. The Taliban are back in charge of Afghanistan. Al-Qaeda and ISIS are thriving in Afghanistan. They desire to hit our home.
That is absolutely not true. In fact, Donald Trump allied with Iran and the Taliban. This is not very well known. I wonder why. Trump allied with the Taliban and Iran to fight ISIS. Do you guys know about this? Did you know about this? Here, let me see if I can find a source so you're not just going off of my word. Hold on.
Homeland. Joe Biden canceled the residual force insurance policy to make sure they couldn't gather up over there to hit us here. President Biden says he has no regrets about what he did in Afghanistan. He's a fool if he really believes that. I have a lot of regrets about what he did. I regret the fact that we left thousands of our allies behind who bravely fought along our side. I regret the fact that all the women that kind of believed in us have been turned back over to the Taliban. I regret the fact that the Afghanistan is going to become another breeding ground for terrorism, and most likely another 9/11 will emanate there, going through a broken southern border. So the general is right. He gave the president sound military advice, and if Joe Biden doesn't regret what he did in Afghanistan, he really is deaf, dumb, and blind.
All right, before I let you go, the district attorney in Georgia is apparently a huge fan of yours, and she's even willing to go to court for a chance to meet you in person. That's how much she wants to meet you in person. Look, you and I are laughing. It's actually really serious. I mean, should all members of the House and Senate begin to block off time for state prosecutors going forward? Is that where we are?
Well, if we let county prosecutors start calling senators and members of Congress as witnesses when they're doing their job, then you're going to throw
I finally found it, Chad. I'm sorry. It took me a second because it's very hard to find. Basically buried. If you just search it, you won't find it. So I knew exactly where it was, so I had to go exactly to the source. Military.com. U.S. has given limited support to Taliban and ISIS fight, general says. The overall commander of U.S. forces in Afghanistan and the Mideast made the stunning admission Tuesday that the U.S. had given limited support to the Taliban in its own fight against ISIS. Marine General Kenneth Frank McKenzie, head of U.S. Central Command. That was the guy saying we could stay in Afghanistan, violating our treaty with the Taliban. He was just on TV. Did not say what form of help the Taliban was given, whether it was airstrikes, intelligence, or simply a temporary cessation of U.S. attacks. There was very limited support from us, and I would characterize that as very limited support, he said. Over the last several months in eastern Afghanistan, we've watched the Taliban compress and crush ISIS presence on the ground in southern Nangarhar province, and they've been very effective doing that. So notice how they have McKenzie on, then they lie about Al-Qaeda and ISIS, even though the Taliban fought ISIS and destroyed ISIS. Do you love the propaganda that's spewed right in front of you that's blatant fucking lies with no pushback whatsoever? It was a bloody mess, but they did it. In fact, ISIS really now no longer holds ground in Nangarhar province, McKenzie said. I don't have any specifics to provide you, but that's the hope, in that every force there is countering ISIS. Every force is there is countering Al-Qaeda. Under the deal between the U.S. Special Envoy and the Taliban leaders in Doha, Qatar last month, a 7-day reduction in violence was agreed to and was to be followed by talks between the Taliban and the Kabul government on a final peace settlement. Oops! You notice how they like to lie and pretend that the Taliban is some sort of threat to you when they're not, when they literally fought and defeated ISIS, something that we could not do? Yeah, let's just make shit up. Just lie blatantly. No one will ever call us out. Like, no one will ever know.
Filter our constitutional balance here. I've got a good legal case. I'm going to pursue it. But I just want to sort of end in this note. You love the law. I love the law. I've never been more worried about the law and politics as I am right now. How can you tell a conservative Republican that the system works when it comes to Trump? Look at what happened with Crossfire Hurricane. It was a joke of an investigation. People lied and manipulated the evidence. Look what happened to Hunter Biden. They gave him a complete pass, apparently, and the social media outlets in this country suppressed information that could have mattered. And if they try to prosecute President Trump for mishandling classified information after Hillary Clinton set up a server in her basement, they literally will be riots in the street. I worry about our country.
I do too. The lady's blindfolded for a reason, and when you begin to start peeking out from behind that blindfold, you're finished as a republic. Thank you, Senator Lindsey Graham from the great state of South Carolina.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to...
Fucking fascist pieces of shit, dude. Absolute fascist pieces of shit. Oh, and in case you wanted the other part of that, Iran teams with Taliban to fight Islamic State in Afghanistan. So, Iran and the Taliban joined with the U.S. and defeated ISIS. But now, Afghanistan, Taliban is actually working with them. By the way, when we were leaving and the ISIS-K did a terrorist attack on the airport, they killed mostly Taliban fighters and civilians, not Americans, although they did kill a bunch. Fucking idiots. Fucking idiots, man. Are you watching the stream unsubbed? You're making income inequality worse. You are doing anti-praxis. We are the only Twitch stream that will not accept scam advertisers, and I will never fuck you over by selling you crap.